What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Dolphins In Depth podcast. I'm Daniel Oyefusi.
I'm
That
David Neal.
is David Neal. Thanks so much for tuning in. Quick reminder before we start, make sure to subscribe to the Miami Herald YouTube page, like, share, comment, all that good stuff, as well as subscribe to the Miami
Miami
Herald.
Herald. Yeah,
There we
that's the
go.
one. That's the one. See,
That's the one.
that's so big. Direct route, paying. So
Most definitely,
we
most
make a little
definitely.
money. Pay our rent too.
I mean, that's what's important right here. All
Yeah.
right, we are
Therapy too.
we are just 1 week away from the start of organized team activities, otherwise known as OTAs. Your Miami Dolphins getting ready to uh, s- take the next step in the offseason workout program. They've been working out, they've been doing drills, but OTAs is when you start to ramp up and you really get a lot more team activity. But before that, Dolphins have still been tinkering with the roster. They had rookie mini camp last week, Friday and Saturday. They made some cuts to the rookie free agent pool. And then on Monday, they brought in a pair of veteran offensive linemen. Fans have been waiting. They have been watching. They have been clamoring. The Dolphins made some additions on Monday, signing Isaiah Wynn, formerly of the New England Patriots, as well as Cedric Away, who has who like Wynn is a first round pick. Has traveled, bounced around with a lot of various teams. So you get some veterans, you get some kind of guys that are well traveled. Um, to kind of fill out the depth chart at offensive line ahead of OTAs, but maybe not the bona fide starting offensive lineman that a lot of people have been claiming for. Wynn has been a multi-year starter with the Patriots as well as Ogbuehi. But again, the moves have left a lot of people wondering, is this it in terms of the Dolphins offensive line? We're going to get into that as well as preview OTAs. But like I said, we're going to start with the offensive line moves. We actually got the opportunity to speak to Isaiah Wynn earlier Tuesday, his first comments to local reporters. Seems like a very nice guy, 27 years old, 20 number 23 overall pick in the 2018 draft, as I said before, of the Patriots. Missed his rookie season because of torn Achilles, but the past 4 years he started 40 games at left tackle, and this past season he played right tackle, so a little bit of left guard. So there's a little bit of versatility there, and a lot of people have been wondering, is he going to be here to start? Is he going to be here to be a backup? What position is he going to play? Unfortunately, we didn't leave that Zoom news conference with any clear idea of what the plan is. He said he'll play anywhere. He said he'll play left side, he'll play right side. We didn't ask him about guard, but as I said before, he has that versatility, and he said, you got to ask the coaches whether I'm here to start or not. So he's not giving us any intel. We're gonna have to wait till OTAs and training camp. But really, we haven't spoken to Ogbuehi yet, so I'll really focus on the win. But I know this was a move that was, kind of met with some eye rolling, some figurative eye rolling on social media. I can tell a lot. Some people were saying, "Hey, all right, it's a nice step move." Some people were saying, this isn't the legitimate competition and starter that the Dolphins need." And I when I thought about it, it left me going back to comments and thoughts that I had before, where this has been, you know, this has been in the works for a while. When I say this, I mean kind of the Dolphins' approach to the offensive line. I mean, they went the first, second wave of free agency without signing an offensive lineman. They've been peppered with questions over and over the past couple weeks about what are they doing with the offensive line. They did say they've been looking at veteran options, and they had hosted some guys. But Chris Greer let it be known, and he said it very clearly after night one or night two of the draft. He said, I think that this is something that you guys, referring to the media and maybe fans, something that you guys worry about a little bit more than we do. So now they have a pair of guys in Wynn and Ogbuehi who are, they're starting. I mean, I'll say it this way: they're experienced offensive linemen. Now, whether there are clear upgrades over Austin Jackson, Liam Eichenberg, if you're talking about Wynn maybe playing left guard, that's to be determined. I mean, it kind of depends on eye of the beholder. I don't, I love the fine work that they do over at PFF. But I'm not always, I'm not always one to quote and use their grades as gospel just because, I haven't seen them personally. I like to, use my own eyes as well before I give my opinion. But the general premise is that these are more kind of like, backup swing tackles, reserve options, low end starters. So I mean, by no means are the Dolphins getting like a top tier starting option in any of these two guys. But I will say they've collected a lot of veteran offensive linemen who looks like they're all going to compete for spots in the coming weeks and months. And after all the injuries that they had, I don't think that you could ask for anything else, anything more when it comes to the depth that they've accomplished. But it really goes back to, the offensive line's success hinging on those two guys in Austin Jackson and Liam Eichenberg, who the team is remained publicly in support of, and the moves have aligned with that. This goes back to this all really hinges on whether those two guys can be the first round pick in Austin Jackson's case that the team envisioned, and the second round pick in Eichenberg's case that they envisioned when they drafted them. What are your thoughts on what the Dolphins have done?
I mean, as you point out, Wynn's been a starter. He's been a more consistent starter than Ced, who is, rather nomadic. This will be team number 6, I believe, in 9 seasons.
Yeah.
There's a reason, so he's definitely, backup, not roster filler, just backup. And Mr. Wynn, I think we are going to see. I'm sure there's going to be a competition with Austin Jackson. I mean, there just has to be.
Well, Chris Greer said, I mean, we've been told we've been told a lot of things that are maybe half truths and whatnot, but I thought it was very telling or very just interesting that when we asked Chris Greer about Austin Jackson's status, I think the question posed to him is the expectation, or do you expect Austin Jackson to be the starting right tackle? And he said the expectation is yes, that Austin Jackson will be there.
Okay, fine. You can.
And I mentioned that before. You can
expect
something, and then
right, exactly. We can all expect a lot of things.
But he didn't have to go out of his way, especially being the GM. Like, the head coach is usually one that says who's starting, who's not.
Right.
For him not to say, oh, he's gonna have to compete for his job, that was kind of interesting.
Been there, seen that before. We expect Bob to do this, and 6 months later, Bob's on the street or Bob's on the bench. If he outplays Austin Jackson in camp, he's where does Austin? Why does Austin Jackson have some? What has he done to be able to coast to where if he gets outplayed in camp, that he still has a starting position?
Well, that's what a lot of people have been wondering. Like, why is it that he is?
So
maybe he hasn't earned it, but the draft status kind of again affords him that benefit of the doubt / leash. That's what it's clear that's what's happening.
You can again. This is but good organizations, great organizations, top line organizations. Once they've drafted you, that's it. Okay, you're a player. You're a player. The person who's someone that competes with you and they outplay you. Oh, they were drafted in the 6th round. You were drafted in the 1st round.
But that's not how it works. That's not.
No. The best organizations, that's what they do. And that's across all sports. The best organizations don't fall in love with their draft picks. They make their picks, and then if they see that they've made a mistake, they say, okay, we made a mistake, and they act like they've made a mistake. If their draft pick works out, okay, fine. But the thing they don't do is, okay, we're holding you there, over several seasons. You're not a Pro Bowler, you're not an All-Pro, but we're gonna hang on to you right there just because we thought you were the best of that particular year's crop. That's not a successful mindset. Successful mindset is, okay, we're going to give you every chance to succeed or every chance to fail, however we want to look at it. But you don't fall in love with them. You don't fall in love with them, man. You just
I don't think it's maybe a case of the Dolphins falling in love with Austin Jackson, but needing to see as much to try to fall in love with him. Because again, first
but
3 years have been uneven. They didn't
and
pick up the fifth-year option. This is literally the last chance for him. So you got to you got
exactly.
to you got to give him every single opportunity
That's
now
what did I
to prove
just
that he
say?
can be
We'll
starting.
give you every chance, but if you get if he gets outplayed, what are you gonna do?
I mean, I'll put it this way. I mean, if the margins are close, I think that he will be the starting right tackle for sure. Unless like he is just not at the level,
If
starting caliber level, which a lot of people say he's not right now. And Ogbuehi is clearly head and shoulders better than him. Yeah, you go with him, but if it's close, I think Austin Jackson is gonna get the
well, if it's
the
close,
nod.
if it's close, he'll probably get it. But then it also wins versatility. Oh, you like that in a backup.
Yeah.
And
Because
I
they don't
mean,
really because they don't really have a backup for Teron Armstead, who missed several games and
right,
played through injuries last season. And we know that they're one injury there away from the offensive line falling apart.
right. And so that may be their plan,
Mhm.
but you can't. The margins are too thin to fall to the margins are too thin to not go with your best players at each position, and the margins too thin among the if you're among the top notch teams, if you want to get there and stay there. And so, I mean, again, what's Austin Jackson done to have earned that level of scholarship or tenure? Probably a better way to put it. You know, other than somebody else, you know, made him the choice. What's he done in the NFL to, you know, say, okay, this is my spot, and y'all can worry about everything else.
Hey,
Yes.
well, I think the Dolphins are hoping that after 17 games and maybe a couple postseason games, that
Yeah,
that question is answered. But
they're
as of
hoping. They're hoping. If that doesn't, if it I'm telling you, if it starts not to work out, they're going to have some hard conversations, and then they're going to have
yeah,
to,
yeah,
and then
no,
they're
no.
going to have to see. Then we're going to find out what kind of organization they are.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've said that before. I think that, again, several months from now, in January, February, we're going to either be saying the Dolphins were on to something and they were right in having this much patience for Austin Jackson and Liam Eichenberg, or there's going to be very, very hard conversations and discussions over whose idea and who allowed, this to go on with, the lack of production at the offensive line and not, significantly addressing it.
Right.
Isaiah Wynn, I should say, it's a 1 year deal with a base of $2.3 million up to $2.7 million. It's not big time money by any means, but it's about a million less than they gave Dan Feeney, who's going to be, one of the top interior lineman backups. So I think that there's a good chance that he's, could be the swing tackle, and we'll see if there is a legitimate competition with Austin Jackson. Oh boy, he is our own Barry Jackson pointed out. He's only started 9 games since 2017. So that's definitely more in the air, up in the air in terms of him, making the roster. But Isaiah Wynn obviously is the most accomplished of the two guys that they just brought in. Like I said, 2018 first round pick, 27 years old, theoretically in the prime of his career. He's dealt with injuries, but he said he's all good from the foot injury that he was dealing with last year. And I think it's kind of fair to note as well, I'm always, I guess I'm Mr. Positive always. He did kind of play with a lot of dysfunction last year in New England. He's a left tackle by trade, but they brought in Trent Brown to the left side and they moved him to the right side. So he's first off playing at a position that maybe he's not as comfortable with. And then we all know the dysfunction with the play caller system and everything that was going on there. But again, we'll see what happens. He's talking about this is a new chapter. He's excited for it. So we'll see how he does in Miami. All right, we're going to take a short break. But when we come back on the other side of things, we got OTAs coming up next week. We got to break that down. What are we looking forward to? Is it important? And if so, who is it most important for? Stay locked with us.
No.
Stay locked with us. That's not going to be the second half. Stay locked with us, and we'll be back soon. What's going on, everybody? Still here on the Dolphins In Depth podcast with David Neal, talking all things Dolphins. Now, the first half, we broke down the Dolphins' two newest additions on the offensive line, and they have arrived in Miami just in time for the start of organized team activities, which begins next week. So, Dolphins will have a series of OTA workouts. The league announced every team's off-season workout schedule. So, for the Dolphins, OTAs will be held on May 22nd and 23rd, 25th, 30, 31, as well as June 2nd. And then that leads into mandatory minicamp, which will be from June 6th to 8th. So the Dolphins have been gathering together for the offseason workout program for several weeks. Now in the OTA section of the offseason workout program, that is phase 3, which is when they can conduct 10 days of OTAs. There's no live contact, but you can do team stuff. So 7-on-7s, 9-on-7s, 11-on-11s, whatnot. So we start to get a little semblance of football, get Tua out there throwing against, throwing against the defense and whatnot. It's not real football, but hey, closest thing to it at this point in the season. However, it's obviously the building blocks and the bridge over to training camp in late July. So last year, this was obviously a very critical point for the Dolphins because they were coming in with new head coach Mike McDaniel at that time, a new coaching staff. This is year 2 of the Mike McDaniel era. 2 is obviously the quarterback. You have a lot of continuity. With that unit. But on the defensive side, you have a new coordinator, Vic Fangio, who's putting the building blocks of those players and that scheme together. It was interesting to talk to Emmanuel Ogba as well today on the Zoom call, and he talked about his return from the triceps injury as well as some other things. But he said, he's still learning the defense. That's what a lot of players have said. When we asked them about what they're excited for, they said, "Hey, I'm still looking through the playbook, trying to figure out how different things work." So it seems like it's a very, this is a kind of I'll say this, as we go into OTAs, I'm very interested to see how this defense looks because obviously it's not going to be the defense that we see, when September 10th when they kick off the schedule against the Chargers. But there's a lot of moving parts and kind of moving pieces with this defense. I say for me, particularly, who is going to be participating in OTAs. Now, I will preface my comments by saying these are voluntary. So players don't have to be there. I know a lot of people, fans, media, whatnot, freak out about certain guys not being there, but it's voluntary. So if you don't see a certain guy there, it's not like they're quitting on the team or whatever. Like they don't have to be there. However, this is a defense that had a lot of injuries, as we have spoken about ad nauseum over the past several months. Ogba being one of them. He said he's been fully cleared from the torn triceps that he had last November, about 6 months ago. But he said the team is taking things slow with me, so I'd be kind of surprised if I saw him out there or saw him out on the field for significant stretches. You have guys like Brandon Jones, Nick Needham, Trill Williams, all guys in the secondary who are going to be competing for spots or playing time. All those guys are coming back from injury, as well as Deshaun Elliott, who I think had a shoulder injury, the new safety that they signed. He had a shoulder problem which might limit him. So I'm kind of curious to see who's going to be out there. But again, I think it's a really I won't say important, but it could be a productive set of weeks for this Dolphins defense as they kind of figure out who's going to play what role in Vic Fangio's scheme. And obviously you're going up against the guys on the other side, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. So it's going to be an interesting set of practices starting next week. How much can the Dolphins get out of OTAs over the next couple of weeks? And, is there a particular unit player that you're looking at during this period?
I mean, to me, it's, OTAs are, you've got a new defense. So, yeah, you're working on where everybody's supposed to be at different times and, depending on your key, defensive keys, blah, blah, blah. So obviously it's much more important for the defense. The offense, it's nice, but they're they're going to try to get into some. This is like early warm ups on game day, like super early warm ups. Like the running the receiver tree and stuff for the offense. I think for the defense, yeah, they're still picking things up, so it has that level that much some importance, much more importance for them. If there is importance to be assigned to OTAs.
I mean, they have them for a reason, so they're definitely important.
They have them because football coaches are control freaks, and they oh wait, we have to have one more practice. We have to have one more practice. If they didn't negotiate it out, football coaches would still be running 3-a-days in training camp. They, so that's just how coaches are. So they're control freaks. They feel like there's you need all this time together. You need all this, and I don't know.
I mean, I suppose.
If until people start getting hit,
I mean,
it's
they don't. I mean, they don't really hit in training camp. I
no,
mean, at this point,
yeah. Well,
like
but at least there's a you get into
yeah,
preseason games and somebody's gonna get hit.
yeah,
You know,
fair
uh,
enough.
yeah, they don't hit as much in training camp anymore either. And so it was, yeah. I mean, we'd watching OTAs and rookie camps, thinking, "Wow, that guy looks so good." That guy
I
looks
mean, we only watched 20 minutes of rookie minicamp, so I couldn't even say anything about how the rookies really
I,
looked.
I
But
remember
I mean,
watching like
at least, I mean, I don't know. You start to get some, like I'm trying to think. You start to get some inklings of some guys start to pop a little bit. Like I mean, hey, football players are players. Like you're gonna make if you're a playmaker, you're gonna make a play. It's not full contact football, but you do see, and obviously like with the offensive line, I'm not really looking as
right.
much as the offensive lines actual like execution as opposed to certain lineups and who's in what spots. But in terms of the wide receivers, some of the safeties, the cornerbacks, you start to. I mean, hey, it might not be full pads, but you're still out there competing. There is something to be said for that. I mean, hey, I'll put it this way. This might be an extreme example, but we knew very clearly that Tyreek Hill was on a different level. Like we knew from the first play of OTAs that Tyreek Hill was on a different level. I mean, I'll say that. Now it might be an extreme example because he's one
Well,
of the best
yeah,
players in the league, but you saw the difference. But you saw the difference in him and all the other wide receivers that the Dolphins had after play one of OTAs. So
that's
there are some things.
really okay. You could see with Tyreek Hill. Whoa, that
I'm saying
that's hard,
you saw like how the different levels to it. You saw how
right?
much
But
advanced he was compared to all the other wide receivers that the Dolphins had.
but I've seen too many Lorenzo Bookers over the years. Guys who are great in OTAs and they were fine. Then not guys who we're not talking about Tyreek Hill was an established All Pro wide receiver. When you're talking to everybody else, you're talking your hoi polloi of the team. I don't know. You got some guys look great in OTAs, and then they disappear in training camp. Some guys you didn't see at all OTAs, and you see them in training camp, and they flash, pop, do whatever popcorn flash bulb stuff is, and but to me, it's not. I don't get too excited about stuff until
I'm not saying you got to get excited and make like grand proclamations off of OTAs.
I'm
But
not. I'm not.
I'm saying like you kind of you see some things, you observe some things, and you kind of package it in the back of your mind. Like, all right, this is what I'm gonna be looking out for when training camp starts, and you start to get full pads on and whatnot. I'm not saying, like I said, it's a stepping stone. So you're watching how the team is progressing. You're not making grand proclamations. I mean, hey, I'll get to say it's the first time we get to see a lot of the rookies out there. So obviously you get to see Cam Smith out there. I'm pretty sure he's going to be taking a lot of snaps out there
Right.
because Mike McDaniel is wary of the veteran snaps. You get to see the rookie Devon Achane. Obviously, he's not getting hit, but you get to see him out there and see what they're doing with him as well. And then obviously you get to see the second year guys who are coming. Obviously the backup quarterback position is going to be something, a competition that is really important in training camp. You get to see Skylar Thompson, Mike White. So again, I'm not saying that like I'm not gonna come after the first OTA and say hey, Dolphins going 13-4 because what I saw in OTAs, but hey, you get a sense of how guys are doing and
Uh,
whatnot.
it's underwear Olympics. I mean, it's I think there's things to be accomplished with learning systems and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's something you can see. But when it comes to actual stuff on the field and executing, and I like I said, it feels like very early in warmups, um, and not that it means absolutely nothing, but it kind of it's to me it's close. I'm like, okay, it's OTA's fine, give me a mini camp, give me a training camp at least before I start like really getting it. I said, okay, show me training camp. And,
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I said,
and
we're
then,
not
and
gonna.
then, and then after a while, I'm about a couple hours into that. I'll be like, all right, let's when's the first preseason game? When's the first preseason game? I mean, not the training camp. Training camp. I think there's a lot more to see and a lot more to watch. Just that tells a lot more, and you see a lot more. But yeah, after a while, you kind of like, okay, this is nice. Now let's see them. You know, let's see some pseudo live bullets.
I feel you. I feel you.
Bullets.
I feel you. I agree with you. I think the most important thing is definitely the implementation of the scheme, how certain guys are being used. Obviously, there's a lot of questions about who lines up, especially in the secondary of the defense, who lines up where. Is Jalen Ramsey a guy's going to be on the outside? He's going to be inside. Does he play a little bit of safety? And again, it's the first time we get to see a lot of the newcomers, especially on the defensive side. That's where they made most of their additions. So, David Long, Malik Reed, the outside linebacker, maybe Deshaun Elliott if he's able to participate. So there's a lot on the defensive side. I think to watch and kind of observe and to kind of just kind of soak in because again, this is going to be a new scheme that they're implementing, and obviously there's a lot of high expectations for that unit. And obviously on the offensive side, we'll see how Tua looks in the second year of that scheme. I mentioned it before. It's the first time since high school that he's been in the same scheme for back-to-back years. So that should do nothing but, have benefits for him as well. All right. That brings us to the end of another edition of the Dolphins In Depth podcast. I want to thank you
Got
guys
your
for always
fix? Got your fix, huh?
fix.
Got your football fix? Got your Dolphins fix? Huh?
Thank you guys. One thank you guys as always for tuning in. Reminder as always, subscribe to my Miami Herald YouTube page, like, share, comment, as well as subscribe to the Miami Herald. We'll be back next week to recap first OTA practice, thoughts, observations, all that good stuff, as well as look ahead for the
He gonna be there.
Dolphins. Oh, you're right.
He
You're
gonna be
off.
there. I'm gonna be in Indianapolis, man. I'm getting ready for
You're
that
off. So
500, man.
it'll be me, probably solo, breaking
Yeah.
down thoughts, observations from the Dolphins' first to open OTA practice. But until then, make sure to check out the Miami Herald YouTube, Miami Herald website. Two stories just went up on Isaiah Wynn as well as Emmanuel Agba. We're gonna have more stories over the course of the week previewing OTA, so definitely check that out. I'll be back next week, but until then, you guys take care. See ya.